Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about the Tower of Victory for the Delhi. We're going to be looking at a Ghazi Raider and Archer build for the Tower of Victory. So it's a very aggressive 2 mosque opening that naturally accelerates techs and makes it so that you can have a really good feudal age. Because with the new update for the Delhi, with the Ghazi Raiders, the change for the horsemen, they are just super strong. And that is something we're going to utilize in this build. So I hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and let's get into it. As usual, I have left a link to a build order for this build in the description below that you can use in your games to follow along or just learn. We're going to start off with sending our 5 first villagers to a straggler tree, and then the 6th villager will be building a mosque. The most important thing is that you connect the lumber camp and the mill, most importantly, because we want to get a increase to the research for the techs in there. The first 5 villagers here will be gathering 100 wood in total from the straggler tree. You're going to be building a lumber camp with the first villager you send out. The villager that is building the mosque afterwards will build a house. So the order of things is essentially mosque into house into mill. These guys over here, if you have a straggler tree close to the mill, they should just go and build the mill and then use the drop-off technique there. But you can also just use the teleport through the town center and then get close to the mill quickly. When you are building your buildings, you want to be getting your techs immediately. So efficient production into piety. From the lumber camp, you want to get forestry. And from the mill, you want to get wheelbarrow. Don't do survival techniques unless you want to go deer really early. I would recommend just going wheelbarrow, and then when you age up, go horticulture, survival techniques, professional scouts. Right, so we're going to go 8 on food. We have 1 on wood for the mosque that we're going to be building on later. And then this guy here will be building the mining camp. So we'll go 8 on food, 1 on wood, 3 on gold. And then we're going to go with 1 more on food afterwards. I'm going to speed it up now so we can get the 3 villages here over onto gold. So the next villager here will be placed on the sheep or on the berries. Consider walk time. You want to be gathering food for as long as you can with this villager before you have to move it again, because this guy will be going on to the gold vein after we can age up. After you've gone 9-3, so 9 on food, 3 on gold, you go back to wood and you just rally onto wood until you have about 7 villagers on wood. Then you go back to food. So that's the TC for the early part of the game here. We're going to be aging up. We're going to be aging up at around 255. Depending on spawn, of course, but that's a pretty good age up. You're going to be aging up with 4 villages. Then you're going to build a mosque, and afterwards, you're going to be queuing up scholars, and then you're going to be building a house. The thing that's super cool by building the mosque here on the gold is if you are in early fights and you have a front gold, you can pull out the scholar that you're going to be making here from the mosque and heal up your villages. So if you are being harassed by horsemen, let's say, you can get textiles, and then you can have the scholar here, and then you can actually heal up your villages that are fighting at the gold vein if you don't have units yet. About the units. For production, if you're playing against something like the French, I'd recommend you get a barracks out first thing, and then you get textiles because they will be sending knights to you. Same goes for playing against the English. Then you want to change it up, and then you want to go for the more standard play here, which is Ghazi Raiders into Archers. So, when you age up, you're going to be building a stable, and then you would build a blacksmith, but if you need archers out quickly, build the archery range before the blacksmith. Now we're going to be aging up. We're going to be dropping the stable. We're going to queue up all our techs. What I do is I press F2, use tab, and then I can individually cycle all of the technologies. Queue them all up. So go wheelbarrow, horticulture, survival techniques, get the double broadaxe, get the mining upgrade, and then of course get from the mosque here, sanctity into all-seeing eye. You want to get the sanctity one first so that you can get the sacred sites as quick as possible. So that's the basics of the build order. There's going to be a lot of variation when you play, whether or not you're using efficient production with scholars into your stable for a lot of Ghazi Raiders in the early part of the game. That can definitely work. You can also drop 2 archer ranges or go 1 archer range with a scholar inside and then use that to build up a good archer mass. Remember to build spearmen if you're up against a lot of cavalry, as this combination of units, Gauzy Raiders and Archers, will not exactly be the answer to everything, but it'll do a lot of damage once you start getting units because you have the Tower of Victory with the 15% increase of attack speed. Basically, the game plan is make units, then you want to take sites, then you want to maybe wall the sites, but if you have enough units, that's not a high priority. Then you want to age up with Compound of the Defender, and then you want to drop keeps everywhere. You can, if you have enough army, upgrade your army, and then just steamroll your opponent with a keep drop. If the game is going to go on longer, I suggest you make keeps around the map, secure map control that way. Use the keeps as town centers through the Compound of the Defender. Use that to make your economy grow. So instead of making town centers, you make 3, 4, 5 keeps, and then you have pocket economies everywhere. So let's say I were to build a keep on the gold here. I would get wood and gold here. Maybe I'd build a keep over here to secure stone for more keeps. There's also another gold vein deer here. So those are good spots. Always consider sacred sites as well, because the moment you get your first sacred site, and this is very important for the early game, you should pull these gold villages away, because you're going to be making scholars from that gold income that you get from one sacred site. So even if you only have one, that's enough, and then you save villages here. Next thing, when you're about to have Sanctity through, you're taking all your scholars, so 3 of them, and then putting them out on the sacred site. You want to get those as quick as possible if you have map control. Let's say you don't have map control, and you have army, you're able to defend, but you can't spread out onto all the sacred sites. You have a lot of pressure you have to deal with. What I would recommend is take your army and then use that to take one sacred site at a time, then wall the sacred site and go on to the next one. Because once it's walled, it will deter your opponent from trying to get it. And if you're on to the next one, your economy is going to build up with the gold income, and then you can redistribute your villages onto food and wood for even more production. For longer feudal ages, add more production. For a quick castle age, I would suggest just focusing food. If you have sacred sites, you don't need to focus gold, and then you can be aging up pretty early. So that's the plan, pretty much. I wanted to give you a quick example of how you can finish games with this build. Sometimes you're going to be focused on feudal, but you might not be able to finish the game in feudal because you're playing against another faction that is really strong in the feudal age, such as the French. They might play Knights Archers, but you can use your Gauzy Raiders movement speed and the Spearmen with the attack speed to really do a lot of damage to the French in the feudal age. What I recommend is, especially if you see them aging up before you, and you can't get the gold from the sacred sites that you need to age up, is pull a lot of villages, put them on gold, and then get the food in some way to be able to get that age up going. When you age up, supervise the building that's going to be upgrading your units to veteran. And then, of course, remember to have scholars inside of your military/religious buildings. You can push when you see an opponent has aged up, because if you know what size army they have, most of the time that army is not going to be increasing as much for a time, especially if they've aged up, because they've spent 1800 resources on aging up. Instead, what you can do is you can push, try to force them back into their base, get the map control you need, and then when you age up, just immediately get all the techs, of course, but you want to get veteran upgrades for all of your units. Once you have the veteran upgrades, you want to be pushing into your opponent's base. If you can take them out, like you can see here, it's a really good fight where I'm trapping some of the knights, trying to do damage to the archers. You can start to think about just going Hail Mary all in, and then take out their base and their entire economy. This is something you can do if you have the numbers. Here, I definitely have the numbers. And what I would work towards is getting more stone later on, whilst I'm still making units, and then use the stone to do keep drops. But on some, in some situations, you don't have to do keep drops to win. You can actually just go all in. So, as you can see here, I've got my upgrades now. All my units are upgraded. So is hers. And we're going to be pushing in 1 second here. I see that my opponent is gathering stone, meaning they're going to go for a defensive keep. And that keep is already up over here. If it wasn't up, it would have been a really good time to push, but since the keep is up and I'm committing now, I sort of have to go all in. There's no oil on the keep, so what you can do is just run in, start taking out army, and then chase villages. That's essentially how you finish games. Sometimes you can go all in like this, and then it fails. Then you fall back, then you build up new army, and then you start dropping keeps everywhere, because you're going to be behind on eco if you're playing against somebody who's on 2 TC or somebody who has had an untouched economy. So, go hyper aggressive, take sacred sites, take the relics. So you can see I've gotten 4 relics here that I started taking on age up, and then you can win the game that way. So I hope that helps you. Good luck in your games. There are a lot of variations to think about when it comes to matchups, such as opening up with a barracks in the Dark Age against Mongols if they're going Tower Rush, such as opening up with a barracks against French. Instead of doing the staple archer, you go spearmen into Ghazi Raiders. So think about those things when you play, and I wish you the best of luck. Check out the description. There are the transcription, of course, of the build order, my Twitch links, and yeah, have a good one.